speakers for us tonight. If you can, if you can let us know a bit about yourself and what you can talk to us about tonight. Thank you.
Sure. Um, just make sure everybody can hear me okay. You can put a thumbs up or a heart. Awesome. So my name is Kat. I taught special education, elementary education, and high school for the better part of 10 years. I was in the educational system, um, from a teacher all the way up to district level admin. Um, and so some of the things I started seeing in my students are some of the very same things I see now. So now I am an educational data scientist. So I help schools, districts. I have a number of contracts throughout the Arizona area. I'm in Arizona, where I help them to analyze their data, make better predictions. I work with schools, nonprofits, and small businesses, and just to make better strategic decisions. In that, one of the things that's always kind of been a passion of mine, one of the things that I've always loved to do is help other people. So a lot of the things that I work on personally now is building programs that I wish I had. Um, so as a part with, so we have a program called the Girl Code, where in that, um, I built a program that is no cost to women 13 and up. So they can be in high school, they can be in college, they don't have to be in school at all. There's no upper age limit. And we teach them how to code. And so in that program, we also pay for their certifications. It's designed for people who are interested in entry level IT, entry level data analytics, et cetera. So I built the program with my nonprofit as a means to help people get out of poverty, and building the program I wish I had. So I did a lot of self-taught, self-learning, but I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't have anyone to connect with. I didn't even have anyone to really ping ideas off of, and yes, I'm a very self-directed person, but not everybody has that. Not everybody is that kind of person, and that's okay. So I built a program that was designed that I wish I had. I wish I had somebody to kind of help and guide me along the way, say, oh, this is how you want to structure your portfolio, not that way. This is what you want to do, not that. So that was the whole purpose of the Girl Code. In doing that and having that background in education, I realized that there were so many women in my program, where it's a case of like I said before, learned helplessness, where and it does come from a genuine place of feeling frustrated, feeling defeated, feeling like, oh my God, this is difficult. And what I have to remind them all the time is it's supposed to be difficult. Like, it's supposed to challenge you. It's supposed to. Why? Because you're learning a new language. Think of it as I am a native English speaker, but I also speak Spanish. Um, and so, think of it, I tell them all the time because we do have some native Spanish speakers. You go from learning your native language to now learning German. It is a new language. Yes, it's a programming language, but it is a new language. Learning German when you are not a native German speaker is going to be hard. Duh. I don't expect you after 6 weeks to be fluent in German. Why are you expecting 6 weeks to be fluent in SQL? And they created these expectations for themselves in terms of oh my God, I don't know how to do it perfectly yet. Well, no, you're not supposed to. Like, why would you know how to do this perfectly? And in that, because they can't do it perfectly, because they aren't fluent, because they are not where I am in 6 weeks, I'm like, it took me several years to get to where I am. Why are you expecting you to get to where I am in several weeks? Even if it is you are doing this full time and focused 100% on this, it's still going to take a while. Give yourself grace, you know and so I spend a lot of time reminding them to give themselves grace, encouraging them, supporting. I don't spend as much time actually teaching them how to code. I literally spent the most time saying, hey, like one person in particular today, she was like, I don't feel ready for the certification exam. Because I finished this part of the course, and I was like, you're on a track, like a preparation track. They have to do several courses in that track before taking the certification exam. He completed 2 of the 7 courses. And I said, hey, this is a 7 course track. Why are you expecting yourself to take the certification exam after course 2? Oh, I said, yeah, no, stop, no. Finish the whole track first, then let's talk. And it's those types of things. It's the creating these like I said, unrealistic expectations because they are, and I get it, they're desperate to change their lives. 93% of the women in my program live at or below poverty level. Um, 96% of them are either unemployed or underemployed. They don't make enough money literally to sustain their bills. So in that case, yeah, they are desperate to change their lives for either themselves, their children, their family, etc. And so I get it. You really want to make the forward movement. But if you don't give yourself the grace to make the forward movement, all you're going to do is end up frustrating yourself and burning yourself out. And so that's the biggest thing that I I love the program and I love doing what I do. But it is frustrating where I'm just like, oh my gosh, dude, calm down. Like it's okay. Like it's really okay. And I do appreciate them and I love them because it's also a case of they're so appreciative of it. They're like, oh my gosh, you're so gracious. I was like, well, the point of the program isn't to penalize you because you fell off track. The point of the program is to encourage you. Like I said, give you the support that I wish I had. And yes, there were times when I fell off track. I didn't meet deadlines. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I didn't finish. I failed. But I have to remind them all the time failure is not because you failed. Failure is when you stop trying. I look at fail, first attempt in learning. That's all it is. It is your first attempt. People tell me all the time, like, they'd be like, oh my gosh, you're so smart. No, I just figured out 99 ways to do it wrong. Like you happened to see me when I finally got it right, but there was 1,000 ways that I figured out how to do it wrong first. And you keep reiterating, keep trying, like Dory says, just keep swimming. And so that is one of the things that I would love to share with everybody. And if I can impress upon anybody is just keep swimming. Like just keep moving. Forward progress is still progress. The even if you break it down from the Latin, gress means to move, pro is forward. So literally progress is forward movement. So any progress is forward progress. Any progress is a step in the direction that you want to go. So yeah, just keep swimming.
Thank you for that, Miss Fox. I want to say thank you again also for being a protector and mother to the community. Girl code. Oh my, that sounds awesome. Have you thought about um, doing girl code on YouTube or some type of platform to where it can reach others? Because your program can definitely uh, propel our community or the community, the world forward.
Yeah. So right now, I actually have a partnership meeting. We're potentially planning to partner with Black Girls Code to help expand our platform. It's not a matter of putting it on YouTube, because what we have is we have a grant from Data Camp and grants from CompTIA, which is what helps subsidize the certifications and stuff like that um, for our participants. A lot of what I do is putting it all together and aggregating and supporting them with that. So like some of the things that I do, and I don't do as much of the actual teaching. I tell them all the time, I'm not your instructor, I'm your learning guide. I'm here to guide you in the right direction of what you're supposed to do, but I don't tell you what to do. And that's why our program is a year long and not 15 weeks. But some of the things that I do, like next week, we're doing interview and technical questions. We do resume and portfolio building. Like as a part of the program, everybody has to submit a resume. Why? Because I'm going to help you fix it. Um, we help them leverage AI ethically, and responsibly. Like I literally said, if y'all go to Chat GPT one more time when you don't know what you're coding, you will piss me off. And I'm honest with them, and they it's funny. Um, I was like, and I told and I give them the practicals. Hey, I go to Chat GPT because I know how the code is supposed to work. I go to Claude. I use AI to write my code because I know how the code is supposed to work. If you don't know how the code is supposed to work, don't go to Chat GPT. Learn how it's supposed to work first. Sorry. And so, in terms of the expansion of the program, um, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everybody. You know, I'm always happy for anyone who's interested um, to be a part of this program. Like I said, it is limited to women. That's a part of our funding. We are we try to be as inclusive as possible, but at the same point in time, our goal is to help bridge the IT gap. Aside from the program being the I created the program because I wanted to create the program I wish I had. It started because in going into conferences, I looked around the room and I didn't see me. I'm an African American woman, and I would look around the room. I didn't see a lot of women, and if I looked for Black women, it was even fewer and far between. And so I wanted to build a program to get more me's in places of leadership. And so, well, in order to get more of me in leadership, I had to get more me in the room, period, whether it's leadership or not. And so that was how the Girl Code started. It started as originally wanting to get more, yes, Black women, but women in general into IT, because studies have also shown women as young as 6 are actively discouraged from pursuing STEM and science professions. So let's get you into STEM and science professions. I don't need more encouragement for 6 year olds to pursue IT. I need more practical spaces, practical programs for women to actually thrive in IT. And that was why we created the Girl Code. So, yeah, I am always happy for anyone who's happy to share the word. You know, with people you know, it always helps to donate. We are a 501(c)(3) organization, so every little bit helps. If you know people who want to donate, either time or money, always a good thing.
Thank you for that, Miss Fox. And
Mhm.
I appreciate all that you do. I admire your wisdom, charisma, and desire to help the community. Please be sure to, if you have a link, to put it in the chat box here. And you are totally welcome to utilize Kittyland to um, further help the community with your girl code. Okay, we are here to support you. Thank you for all that you do. Um, I was not, did not know what to expect to hear from you tonight, but I want to know, I want you to know that I'm definitely impressed. You do a lot for the community, and you know how to reach people. And I always say that the best teachers know how to reach everyone. So thank you for being able to reach the community, and we are here to support you all the way. Thank you for being here. Happy New Year to everyone. If anyone has any questions for Miss Fox, our guest speaker, please go on. Okay, I have a question for you, Miss Fox. What was the since you speak about challenges, what was the biggest challenge for you to overcome?
Um, can you be a little bit more specific in what you're referring to? Like, are you talking about like professionally, personally? I'm not exactly 100% sure what you mean.
I would like to know all of it, actually.
Um, I think for me, well, probably the same thing in terms of both. Um, so I am neurodivergent. I am autistic as well as having ADHD. And so um, the hardest part for me, I thrived in school because I love to learn. I absolutely adore learning and I love sharing what I know. Um, but the problem with that is aside from being gifted, and literally having genius level intellect was the fact that everyone assumes that that's what I wanted to show. No, I just love to share what I know. And it's not that I want to make anyone feel bad. It's literally a did you know moment. Like, I don't know if you guys remember from NBC, the little star in the rainbow that goes, the more you know. Yeah, I'm that person incarnate. And so I love to just share what I've learned. Like, oh, well, did you know this? And so, and if you share with me something that I didn't know, I'm going to research it. I'm going to thrive it, and I'm going to archive it in my bank of things because it's curious to me. I have a natural curiosity about the world. Um, but also realizing as I got older that not everybody likes that. And so getting frustrated, that because it didn't make sense to me. And so it wasn't, I was not diagnosed until later in life, especially with being autistic, because it was one of those where I didn't necessarily fit the classic mold of autism. Um, which we have since learned that a lot of those studies were done on white Anglo-Saxon boys. So what autism looks like in a little black girl is very different to most of your white Anglo-Saxon boys. And so with that being said, um, that was probably one of the biggest challenges for me. I did really well in high school, but I floundered in my first bachelor's, largely because I never learned how to study. I was just good at learning things. I wasn't challenged though. So when I got to college and I'm actually now challenged and I have to study and remember things, it was night and day for me. I did successfully graduate with my bachelor's, but it wasn't until my second one that I learned how I needed to learn things. And it was also one of those in my second bachelor's that I really learned enough about myself to understand what I needed to thrive, not even just how to study, but like just in terms of what I needed from people, relationships, etc., to be successful for me. And that is a lot of probably why what I do now as an adult. It's why I got into special education because I I like designing programs and building the programs and building things that I wish I had because I'm a huge believer in repairing generational trauma. Like I have a child, if I can have him learn the same lessons without the trauma that I endured to learn said lessons, let's do that. Like, I know many people are like, well, it worked for me. Yeah. But the question is, did it? Like, I can guarantee you most of us probably could have learned the same life lessons, could have, not all of them, without all of the trauma, especially as children. And so that's a lot of what I believe in doing as a person is supporting people getting what they need. And if we don't have to traumatize you in the process, let's not. So for me, a lot of the biggest challenge for me was learning how to communicate to other people in a way that was A, authentic to me, but B, also realizing that there's a number of um nonverbal, unspoken, hidden sometimes social cues that I don't always get and I don't always understand. Um And sometimes it's not even a case of, I don't understand for lack of effort. It's I'm just not going to understand because that's not how my brain is wired. And so I think a lot of it for me was now as an adult now, um I built my house in a way that makes me thrive.
Guys, I gotta
I
go.
don't
We just had an earthquake out here. I gotta go. Gotta go. I'll jump in if I can.
oh,
Bye.
okay, bye. Oh, sorry. I hope you're okay. Um But a lot of it for me was I built like my house. My house is set up in a way that's designed for me to thrive. Um, it is still a bit of organized chaos. Like my office some days looks a hot mess. It has a lot of stuff, but I know where everything is. That's my ADHD. Um, it my mom, I know would come in here and say, "Oh my God, your house is so messy." It's not messy. It's just I need things where I can see them. If I don't see them, I don't know they exist. When they don't exist, I duplicate, and then I waste money because I've purchased it 2 and 3 times because I literally just couldn't find it. So a lot of my shelving is clear. A lot of my books and stuff are visible. I don't put things away into neat boxes all the time. But the thing is, once I find its home, we're good. It stays there, and I can remember where it goes. It's no one else has to understand the system but me. But it's my house. I don't care if you like it. And that's some of the other things that I had to learn growing up. Like, look, you don't have to come to my house. I don't have to invite you over. If you feel some kind of way about being in my house, okay, the door's over there. And it's not just house in terms of physical house, it's also my life. And realizing that I don't have to have certain people in my life. I don't have to have certain things in my life just because other people feel or think that way. Um, if it's not conducive for me, I don't need it and it doesn't exist for me. That doesn't mean it has to be that way for everyone. It's just not something I do. And some of that was like growing up very Christian, and now I don't believe in God. Doesn't mean I don't believe in a higher power. I'm just not Christian. I have no problem with anyone who identifies as Christian. One of the schools I work with is Catholic. Perfectly fine. My goal is 110% the hey, if you like it, I love it. I will always respect where other people come from. But as long as you are not trying to trample on my beliefs, we're good. Um, and so those were a lot of the things that I had to kind of work through over time. In terms of personal and professional struggles, which kind of over time just started to blur because I realized, like I said, the like communication. It was not just communication at work, but it was also in how I communicated with partners, how I communicated with my child. It kind of was everywhere. And learning the how to set boundaries for myself, but also how to set boundaries at work, how to set boundaries in relationships, etc. So those were things that were a struggle for me. Um, because of how I grew up, because of being a late diagnosis with ADHD and autism and stuff like that, and having to unlearn a lot of the things that I learned to to be okay.
Wow, thank you for sharing that with us, Miss Fox. And definitely happy that you're doing better now. And we definitely can learn a lot from all you said tonight. You have overcome so much. You said neurodivergent, ADHD, autism, and we're also unlearning trauma. We're unlearning unhealthy practices of communication, like you said, as well, and behavior. And that ties into a lot of things. And you're right, boundaries are important. I think I learned that very, very late in life. I see you in chat. I will get to you. Thank you. And I definitely wished Miss Evelyn safety. And I asked her to keep us posted. And I'm definitely praying for California and anyone that's experiencing any natural disaster. And I'm pretty sure we are all in union with that. Thank you for the prayers for California and all natural disasters. And thank you again, Ms. Fox. I have so much I really want to say. It's just so much to say, to uncover and unpack here. But that's why I'm happy that we have the wind down. This is a place to unpack for sure. And um, it's a lot of things that you said that I identify with and can definitely relate to. And so I'm grateful to have you here. And I look forward to learning more with you and from you. And thank you for all that you do again. Shad, I see that your hand is up. Go on, Shad.
So this whole entire forum just made me excited. I'm also neurodivergent, so is my daughter. My daughter's autistic. So everything you just said motivated me more to like everything that I'm doing and working towards. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. I love meeting other people who are neurodivergent, my tribe, if you will. I love connecting with parents. I love connecting with other people who are autistic as well. Particularly, one of the reasons I like connecting with parents of those who are autistic who may not themselves be autistic is because helping them to understand that the perspective is very different. And so, one of the schools I've worked with is an autism charter school here in the West Valley of Arizona. And it was started by a parent of a child with autism who was what they may call lower functioning. So he's not exactly, he's nonverbal, but more than likely going to be someone who is not independent, you know, in his adult years, and helping her to realize that your perspective of autism and your child's perspective of autism are actually going to be very different. So some of the things is, um, so I didn't have the language as a child to express how much I hate certain clothing. Um, and so, and also because I did not know at 5, 6, and 7 that I was autistic, I couldn't tell my mom that I hated the way pantyhose felt because, again, I went to church, had to wear pantyhose. I couldn't tell my mom that I hated the way that pantyhose and tights and all of that stuff felt on my legs, because I didn't know that that's what was going on. I just knew I was frustrated and I ended up putting holes in them every time. Fast forward as an adult, now I can express the language of, hey, I buy certain clothes from certain vendors because I have certain fabric sensitivities. I don't wear everything just because and that was one of the things that I didn't realize was an issue. I couldn't figure out why I spent literally a year very depressed. Well, it was because I was wearing fabrics that irritated the crap out of me. Literally, that the reason I was depressed was because I was wearing the wrong clothes. So I would go in already at a 10, but not realizing that I'm already so irritated because I'm wearing the wrong clothes. 6 weeks after changing the fabric of clothing, because I didn't, again, understand my sensory sensitivity, 6 weeks into I had a completely different perspective. And so I say that to say that, understanding that about, um, a lot of parents don't always look into the why of of their child's behavior, especially when your child can't communicate the why, or if they're not able to communicate at all. So I love connecting with parents to understand them and understand their perspective. Like for me, I don't consider myself suffering with autism. It wasn't something for me to overcome. My brain just functions differently. Like things that make sense to you don't necessarily make sense to me. Um, like for example, I don't process grief the same way that most people do. It doesn't necessarily make me sad in that way. Um, and so my way to comfort someone when they're grieving is to say, "Hey, is your life insurance policy okay? Do you know where that is? Do you need any help with planning?" Because I do know that in those times of grief, executive function goes out the window. And so the best way that I know to help somebody is, hey, let me handle your executive function if that helps for you. I'm a really good planner. I'm a really good at getting these things done and executing these things. Now, to someone who doesn't know me, that seems like a very much of an asshole move. And it seems very cold hearted. Like, oh my God, you're asking about life insurance policies? Well, yeah, because no, like you're sad, but the bills still need to get paid. Like I get it, but lights still need to be turned on. Like if there's a mortgage that still needs to be paid, those things need to happen. And sometimes you have a very limited window in which those things can happen. So yeah, that's what I can do for you. I'm not going to be the person that's going to necessarily sit and cry with you and hug you. Nah, that's my best friend. Like that's her. That she does that all day, every day. And um and the people who know me understand that when I say that and when I do that, that is me. Um, but that's sometimes what they need, in that moment. It's like, oh, well, I can cook you dinner. I can make sure your house is clean. those types of things to help you navigate this. I know it's a very difficult time period, and so those are things that I can do, but that's also how I can show you that I love you, by helping you to make sure that these things are taken care of, especially at a time when I know it's going to be really hard for you to process doing those things. Um and sometimes the question is, hey, and my friends know this, I will literally say, I do not know how to process what you're going through. Can you tell me what you need from me right now? Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't, but they understand by the nature of me asking that question, it's not coming from an asshole-ish place. It's literally like, I want to be there for you, but I don't know what you need, you know? And so, yeah. And so you know, those are things that aren't always explained. And so, one of the things that I love to impress upon parents, especially parents of children with autism, is the why question can help so much. The understanding of why. And sometimes a lot of it for people, they don't understand the why. But I do genuinely feel that most people want to be helpful. Most people want to. And when they understand the why, my husband hates it. He's like, "Oh my God, you explain everything." But the thing is, I don't, I'm, my son rarely gets in trouble because I explain to him why we do certain things. And he's 17 now. No, he's not perfect, but he also hates the lecture too. And so it's the, it's very simple. You will never have a bedtime. He hasn't had a bedtime since he was like 10. As long as you can get up on time and get yourself ready, and I don't have to remind you, and we're not late, you don't have to have a bedtime. You go to bed when you go to bed. If you want to be tired at school, be tired at school, but you're not gonna fall asleep. you know and so helping him build the executive function skills that wasn't explicitly taught to me, those types of things. And so I think that's one of the things that I love sharing with parents. I love sharing with people in general, and learning their story, because I think the hardest part of that, especially for us in the African American community, is understanding the spectrum. Like, it has such a wide range of things that could be, that fall into the spectrum, and how, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. It's so varied and it's so wide. But also, so many of the practices and stuff that we do, like I spoke to earlier about generational trauma, just really doesn't work. you know which is one of the reasons why I understand corporal punishment. I have no problems with people who use corporal punishment, but for me as a person with autism, it's not going to work. And largely because a lot of the times, in my opinion, what happens is we tend to hit out of a place of anger. And all that means is that when I do something wrong, I'll get hit. So it teaches one of two things. I either need to learn to fight back, or I need to learn to be afraid to do things wrong. And so instead of the, hey, you did something wrong, and actually disciplining, which is correction, which is teaching, we resort to punishment. And so, like I said, I have no problems with corporal punishment. I have no problems with people who use it, but it's understanding of the why of what we're doing, I think will really help people in general, not just those with autism. I think it helps us to move forward and being able to build people up instead of tearing them down. And I think that's where you get into a lot of the learned helplessness, is people fearing the wrong, fearing the things going wrong, fearing the not getting it right, that perfectionism, that when things go wrong, not knowing what to do. Instead of being prepared for things to go wrong, it's the, oh crap, things went wrong. What do I do now?
Well, you said a mouthful here. You are definitely welcome at the wind down anytime you want, Miss Fox. That's a lot to to unpack. You definitely are correct. I love that you described the why and how important it is to understand the why. And once you understand the why, you can move forward in a better and healthier way and actually create a solution. I like how you explain what discipline is. It's correction in teaching, not dis like actually punishment or hitting. And I think you also pretty much covering the fact that we all learn differently, communicate differently, but as long as we understand the why, we can still communicate. We can still understand one another and get along. And you figured out the fabric thing. I wonder how many people may be irritable because they're wearing the wrong fabric. That's very interesting. I want to talk about that. That needs to be talked about. Maybe we're in the wrong fabric. Interesting. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that's a and the thing is, sensory sensitivity is not something that's unique to autism or ADHD or anything. Any like we all have it. It's like some. It's the oh, I just don't like the way that feels. I just don't like the way that tastes. It's the I don't. I refuse to do dishes in my house, which is why for the last before I got my house, every apartment had to have a dishwasher because I don't like the way wet food and wet things feel on my hands. I'm also allergic to latex, so I can't use rubber gloves to clean that. So make sure everything has a dishwasher because that's what I need. But I think a lot of us don't think about the fact that, there are lots of clothes that look good on me, but they don't feel good on me, and it could be something that is very simple, that's just kind of itchy or scratchy. It could be the tag, it could be a seam. Um, and so those things, I think a lot of the times we can brush it off, especially as adults, especially as women. You know, how often do we wear things that are uncomfortable, that we don't like, but it looks good? Think about bras or, Spanx or stiletto heels. None of those things necessarily feel great, but yeah, we look amazing in them. And so, um, and so for me, it was the realizing that that was the all the time, kind of thing. And so, like, I only wear one brand of socks because the seam on my socks would irritate my toes. And this sock has a very light seam that doesn't irritate me. In realizing that the first thing I do when I come in the house is take my socks and shoes off because I actually don't like my feet to be enclosed. I definitely don't like them to be wet, which is why I cannot stand it if I wear shoes that do not have proper ventilation so that my feet don't get sweaty. Um, and so those are the types of things that, we don't always think about, you know, and how that's something as small as that fabric or your shoes or your socks, even down to like your underwear, your bra, if you wear them, those types of things, and how that can think about that. It's like having it's like having a tiny pebble in your shoe that you don't realize it's there, but it's just constantly irritating you. And over time, that background irritation just makes you more annoyed when you experience major things. And so for me, it was eliminating that, not knowing that that was a thing, first of all. So it was bringing the awareness to that. And then second, finding out, well, what clothes do feel good. So like my general outfit is usually a oversized t-shirt and leggings. That's 99.9% of the time what I am wearing. Um I am picky on the types of shirts, and I buy my leggings from one particular vendor. So that they have the lightest seam possible. Um I don't need them to be fancy in color or design or anything. That's just not my personality. But yeah. Um And so those are things that I buy in bulk because I know I buy them from one particular vendor. Um, I do have other items, obviously, that I wear. But one of the first things I do is when I do buy clothes, I do buy most of my clothes online, but I'll read up, well, what type of fabric is this? Okay, is it argon or cotton? Or is it silk or is it satin? What's the polyester blend if it is polyester? I don't wear a lot of cotton because cotton after a while starts to pill, and that pilling will irritate the crap out of me. All of the blankets in my house are reversed. So the design side is actually on the bottom because that side doesn't pill very often. I can't stand top sheets. You would think, yeah, nah, can't stand top sheets. I love fleece, but there's two types of fleece. There's the soft fleece and then the bumpy fleece. My husband loves the bumpy fleece. That makes him feel comfortable. Bumpy fleece makes me violent. Like, I can't stand bumpy fleece. So we usually sleep under two different blankets, and that's okay. Um, and so with that, yeah, we just have two separate blankets that we sleep under. Yep. Shad put in the comments, same thing. I used to think my autistic symptoms were OCD for many years, and I do have some things that are OCD. Like I have to use 3 paper towels. I have to have 3 pumps of soap, or a denom. Like the temperature in my house cannot be set to a prime number. Like it has to be set to a composite number. I know it just is what it is. Like my son, one time I said, "Hey, turn the temperature up." I did not specify. He turned it up to 71 and I wanted to punch him. Not really. But I was like, "Dude, why would you turn it up to 71? Just turn it up to 72." He's like, "Oh, it's not," and it wasn't that big of a deal. I just went and turned it up to 72. But it's also one of those I've learned to now also be more specific because I know those are like, I get it. She can't go on break unless it's an even number. Like there's certain things that it's just like, okay, and you just kind of learn to flow with it. Um, and it's those little quirky things that for some people it really isn't a big deal. And it's perfectly fine that it's not a big deal. And I think for people with autism, it's just a bigger deal. And it's okay that it's a bigger deal. And that was the biggest thing that I had to learn as an adult. It's okay that it's a big deal. It's me. It's my life. I don't have to live my life for anyone else. And if I say the thermostat does not get set to a prime number, the thermostat does not get set to a prime number. Nobody else is paying the bills. So don't set my thermostat to a prime number. Like, and that's okay. Like, I don't physically wash dishes because I make sure I have a dishwasher. And I make sure that I have a sprayer that's able to get all the stuff so that my dishwasher doesn't get overloaded. You know, it's, hey, I don't like washing dishes, so that's now my son's chore. Yay! You know, little stuff. And so those are things that I do because, yeah. And I mean, I'll do it when my son moves out at some point. But yeah, I'm not particularly worried about it right now. Like I said, it's one of those, I set my life up for me and nobody else. And learning that, case in point, my partner and I, he used a pair of scissors from my office. Now, mind you, I do design. I make custom bows and stuff like that. No, those are things that I don't necessarily do for my business. I do that stuff to relax. Like I do a lot of artistic and creative things to relax. I design, I paint, etc. Right? So he went in my office because he was looking for a pair of scissors, and he used one of my fabric scissors. And I wanted to stab him with those scissors because I'm like, why would you use my good fabric scissors to cut? I can't remember. He was trying to cut open a package, I think it was. And he was like, "Oh, I just needed a pair of scissors and they were out. It's not a big deal." I'm like, "No, it is a big deal because these are my good fabric scissors that I use for cutting fabric that I need to maintain the sharpness. Like, if you needed a pair of scissors, there's 2 pairs of scissors over here." He's like, "Oh, I didn't see them." But he couldn't understand why it was a big deal. And I'm like, and when I was younger, I'm like, "Oh, well, no, it's not really a big deal." No, it's a big deal because it's important to me. Like, you're not going to replace my scissors if they're broken. I have to replace my scissors if they're broken. And granted, yes, he would replace my scissors. But realizing that it's okay for things to be a big deal. It's okay for things to be important to me. It's okay for me to take up space. It's okay for me to say, you know what? Like I said, don't set my thermostat to a prime number. Like, that's just not what we do in this house. Um, and those are things that I love, meeting people and sharing with people, that it's okay to take up space. It's okay to say, hey, don't, this is my car. Don't touch the thermostat in my car. Like, if you're cold, if you're hot, just let me know. We can try to find a happy medium. But if you ain't putting gas in my car, don't touch the thermostat. Like, that's just, yeah. I don't have that feeling about the music. I don't care if a person changes the station. But if you change the thermostat, we will have problems.
I remember the movie was that Rush Hour. He was like, "You never touch a black man's radio."
Yeah. Yeah,
I,
like, I don't have a problem if someone changes the radio station or wants to change the music station. And I think most people are more like, "Hey, I don't like the song. Can we change it?" But if you go to change the thermostat in the car, oh yeah, there will be problems. Yeah. I'm not as frustrated like if you change my seat settings, and that's just because that's just common sense. I'm not gonna want somebody who's driving 6'2". I'm not 6'2". I'm 5'5". Change the seat. Like, yeah, don't be uncomfortable if you gotta drive. Dude, just change the seat. Like, I'm not gonna be mad that you didn't put it back. But no, if you touch the thermostat, we got issues.
I get it. I don't like to be hot, which is
Hmm.
which is why I cannot move to the south or anywhere that's hot all the time. And especially now that I know that California just we get random earthquakes. Miss Evelyn definitely is a prepared woman. So, did they have a warning about this earthquake, or did it just happen?
Usually, I mean, usually they can't really warn you about earthquakes. California, Nevada, and all that is on a fault line. So those things just happen. I mean, they can try, but that's not really something that you can prepare for. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's like a large earthquake. It could be a small
That's
one,
true.
but like, what do like she might have just felt the ground shaking underneath her and like, oh, we're having an
And
earthquake. Oh,
and yeah, and it's one of those, a lot of, well, and in the preparedness, one of the things you'll find in California and Nevada is a lot of their buildings are meant to move. They sway a lot more, and that's because they are built on a fault line. Like Shay was saying, it's one of those, they are built and they're designed to tolerate that. And so for her, depending on the nature of the earthquake, her preparedness is like, you know what, the internet might go out, so let me go ahead and get off of here because the internet might go out. I might lose power depending on how intense this earthquake may or may not be. So let me go ahead and prepare and get to where I need to go, where it's safer.
yeah.
And
I was gonna say
Definitely
that
be
she
safe.
needed to get off and get under something, like a
Oh yeah,
table
for sure.
or something, so that she could make
Yes,
sure she was safe.
yes.
yeah, and
Be
so
safe,
so
Miss
I
Fox.
live
Thank
in
you.
yeah, I live in Arizona. Yes, it is. It's actually not hot all the time, just 3/4 of the year. Um, we are 80 degrees all the way into December, absolutely. But it is 80 degrees with zero humidity, which again, I never, so coming from the East Coast, I grew up in Virginia, I lived in Maryland for 15 years. So coming from the East Coast where we had snow, we had hurricanes, we had tornadoes, we had all of the above. So coming here where um it is still 80 degrees in December, desert life, yes. I never thought I would say the words, it's a cold 80 degrees. But realizing that without the humidity, without that extra blanket, 80 degrees can feel cool. Like, I will honestly say, like, 85 degrees is like perfect here. But 85 degrees back home makes me feel like I'm just sweating in all the places I never want to sweat. Yes, it does get hot here. Yes, it does get up to 120 easily in the summers. Um, I tell people all the time the best way to describe it is when it is hot, we have lots of things indoors that are designed for the cool. I literally just go from my front door to my car. I'm not standing outside all summer, you know. But the difference between being desert life and most other places is when it's hot here, it's like standing in the oven. It's standing in front of the oven. Like I can shut the door and I'll be okay. When it's hot back home, it's like being wrapped around by that blanket and that's not fully dry. It's just hot and wet. And then I start feeling sticky and icky. I will take desert heat over humidity any other day. Um Also, it's sunny like 95% of the time. We don't have a lot of rain here. Obviously, desert, which also means we don't have a lot of inclement weather. Like back home, obviously you have snow days, you have inclement weather days. Yep, like walking under a blow dryer in the summer. But it's not blowing. That's why I said just standing in front of the oven, because it's one of those we don't feel there's not much wind movement a lot in the summertime here. Um, it's just hot. But again, I'm not outside very much in the summer, but it also means that I can go swimming as early as like April, May, all the way through my birthday in October. Yeah, when I was in Vegas, it was pretty windy, but we don't get it. We definitely, so Phoenix, we're in the bowl. We don't get as much wind because we're surrounded by the mountains, or 360 in some direction. So a lot of that wind is blocked. Oh, October 15th is my birthday. Um, and yeah, I go swimming for my birthday. In the summer, like it's great when you have a hot tub because in the summertime you just don't turn the heat on. And the wintertime, you turn the jets on. It feels amazing. Um, or turn the heat on in the winter. So it's like a lot of people here you would think have pools. Most people don't because a lot of pool places are open for a very long period of time. And in the summertime, like I said, there's a lot of indoor spaces, um, indoor trampoline parks, indoor go-kart racing, indoor pool, indoor this, indoor that. There's a lot of indoor stuff to do. Um, so when it's hot, it's hot. But it doesn't mean you got to be outside when it's hot.
Right, right. I am a Midwest woman, okay?
Girl, that
Just
is
a
a different
small
type of
town
snow. That is
girl.
a different type of cold. I totally get it. Like, mm-mm, you can have all that.
I mean,
You
now
can
that you
have all
explained, it doesn't sound too bad besides the nature and
that.
what I'm used to. I think the worst, Miss
Yeah.
Evelyn, welcome back.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. It
All
was a
right.
4.8, and I had to run out of my bed because I'm on a three-tier bed. That's
Oh
three
my
Oh yeah,
goodness.
yeah,
mattresses
yeah.
high. So I felt it. It was
Woo.
moving from the west to the east. So
Mm.
it was scary, especially when I'm up that high. Sorry, I'm back, guys.
Oh no,
No
we're
Ladies.
happy
worries.
to
No.
see you.
I think we're just glad you're safe.
Yes,
So
Mhm.
welcome back safely.
yes, yes, yes.
You're
You
You're
muted.
on
muted.
mute.
Yeah, I was in bed sleeping before I jumped onto the meeting, and then the earthquake happened. And so that's why I got this gear on because I was resting good. Anyway, I'm going to climb back into bed and continue the meeting with you guys. Thank you.
Yep.
I hope I didn't miss too much.
We were
No,
just talking
no.
about.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Natural
Miss Fox, 'cause you have
disasters.
to go. You have to go,
No,
Miss Fox, right? Okay. Go
Oh,
on.
no, I
wow.
don't. I was just saying, yeah, we were talking about natural disasters and really weather in general and how it's different in different spaces. So I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona area, in the bowl.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's
in Northern
desert
Cal.
life. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in Northern
So yeah.
California. So,
So yeah. And one of the reasons I moved to Phoenix is for the fact that the weather doesn't change very much.
right.
We don't get much rain. We get in like that August time frame, we get what's called a haboob. It's like
Yeah.
think of it like a very tiny, think of it like a hurricane that lasts for like 30 minutes. And it
Wow.
can be very intense. And I'm not talking like a cat 2, 3, 4. I'm talking about like tropical depression for 30 minutes.
Wow. See,
You know,
me, I've
so
been
tropical
here for 15
depression.
years.
yeah.
I, I've been here for 15 years, and this is the first large earthquake I felt up here because we have geysers that shoots off.
Oh yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
yeah, and you
So
get
it
little
releases a
tremors.
lot of the pressures. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not an earthquake. It's the
Mhm.
tremors from the geysers. But this was an
Yep.
earthquake. My cat ran first, and then I saw like I got things dangling from the fans and stuff, and it was swaying from side to side. And being from San Francisco, oh, this
You're like,
earthquake!
I
I
know what
got
we
up.
do. Yep. Hmm.
Yep, ran ran to the safest place near me that I thought would be safe. So,
Yeah.
but
Totally
it
makes sense.
scares me because a month ago we had that big one that happened in the ocean off the
Oh
coast
yeah.
of Fort Bragg that gave an alarm all the way down to San Diego about tsunamis coming in, warnings.
Hmm.
So woo, okay, Earth is
Yeah.
shifting. So okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Plate tectonics. Yay.
I'm so
Um.
sorry I missed good 30, 40 minutes of your session because I'm in the same field as you and I'm just returning come this Tuesday. And boy,
Mhm.
could I use an advancement in my profession, I tell you. Um,
Nope. I definitely understand.
yeah. So anyway, hopefully I can get caught up, whatever anyone can share with me if you're leaving.
Oh no,
Uh,
no, I'll be here for a while. I would say that's the beauty of being like an hour behind. So it's just 8 o'clock for me now.
oh,
Um,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I'm
It's
in Arizona.
7-Eleven now. It's seven
Yeah.
Eleven where I'm at. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in Arizona. So that's the other thing. In Arizona, we do not practice daylight savings. So in the summertime, I'm in Pacific. Well, I'm not really in Pacific. I'm in Mountain Standard, but it's easier just to tell people summertime I'm Pacific Daylight, wintertime I'm a Mountain. So yeah, like my mom remembering. So my mom is East Coast, and so sometimes she'll call me, especially in the summer at 6 a.m. in the morning, because she's forgot that we don't practice daylight savings. I'm like, dude, it is 6 a.m. It's 9 a.m. for you, but it's 6 a.m. for me. Please, please stop.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
I,
but
I
yeah, I do find
so
Arizona to be lovely, but I understand the desert climate is not for everybody.
especially when it gets to 125 degrees out there in Arizona. Am I right? Like I can't
Yes,
do
it
that.
does. It absolutely does. But there's lots of things to do on the indoors. And so like um one of the places we go to one of the indoor wave pools that's open year round. Um, like there's lots of indoor trampoline parks, indoor air jump, indoor adventure parks. There's lots of indoor parks that are
Do
open.
you do you guys
Mhm.
get heat days like they get snow days out here?
Not really, because we have cooling centers. And then also those
Uh,
heat days occur in the summertime. So
Yeah.
in terms of school, kids aren't in school.
Yeah, you're right.
And so one of the things that's very different here is because Arizona is a lot newer. If you talk about cities and architecture, Arizona is a lot newer. And compared to, I used to teach in Baltimore City public schools, which a lot of the buildings are probably open way older. So they would shut down Baltimore City for heat advisory days. Well, we don't
Mm,
have that here because it's required that everybody has air conditioning. So there's no such thing
mm.
as a heat advisory day shut down for schools. Even though we go back in August and we get out in May, there's no such thing as a heat advisory shutdown.
Right.
Um, and
Well,
oftentimes it's because they recognize that for many students as well, school is where they have air conditioning. Um,
right.
so yeah. So it's different here. So like back home, one of the things is like so back home, they wouldn't turn the electric off in the winter, because of how cold it gets. Here, they don't turn the electric off in the summer because of how
Right.
hot it gets.
Right.
So, those are things that I've had to work with clients and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, it's just different. Um,
Well,
yes, I miss grass.
the closest I come to it is that this past summer to just recently, like 2 weeks ago, I have been
Mhm.
without an HVAC. Mine had broke down. It took this long for them to put it together out here. I didn't have air conditioning in the summer and I didn't have heat in the
Oh,
winter. And they well,
Oh,
they sent me a substitute check to put in room
mhm.
heaters, so that which is nice to have if anything comes
Yeah.
down in the future. And I brought fans for the rooms in the
Hmm.
so it was pretty noisy having fans in almost every room. Sound like a
Yeah.
jet was in my house, but heck, it was too hot not to have them. So
No, and I totally understand. And that's honestly the other thing. It's 125 degrees with nothing blowing. A lot of the times, even in 125 degrees, once you get some air circulation blowing, it doesn't feel that bad. And it's 125 degrees in the sunlight. If you're in the shade, it's at least 20 to 30 degrees cooler.
well,
So
see, I'm a
yeah.
native San Franciscan, and 80
Hmm.
degrees, that is way
It's
off the
very
chart.
different.
That's off the
Yes.
chart for me.
I'm
And
originally
even though I
from
have,
East Coast. Yep, I totally
yeah,
get it.
and having the windows open and no air blowing, that doesn't help. It's like,
Mm-mm.
shut the doors and let the fans. You live in a airport, without windows or whatever. It's just noisy, but it's
Yeah.
cooler. Yeah, yeah. Life, the world is changing. Mother Nature's changing.
Mm-hmm.
No, people don't want to believe it's changing. It's like, okay, you're going to hit your peak of what you can handle, what you can't. This is not normal. Anyway, hello, everybody. More people have come.
Yes,
Um,
I see.
welcome,
Yeah,
Thelma. Welcome, Miss Marion. Welcome back, Miss Evelyn. Welcome, everyone.
thank
And
you.
sure, it's definitely interesting to hear about the different climates, and it's definitely interesting to learn about Arizona not being as hot as I thought, except for during the summer. So maybe if I was to, I doubt this highly, but if I was to ever move to Arizona, I would be a heat bird because during the summer I would be back towards the Midwest or something
So no,
instead
you'd
of
actually be
having
what we
east.
call snowbirds. Oh
Okay,
no, you
I
would be
thought
a
snowbirds were
heat
yeah.
bird. Snowbirds come here in the winter. No, no, nope. You
Yes,
would be a heat bird. Snowbirds, and I hate it because so I live a little bit outside of the city of Phoenix, right? So I hate it because in the summertime traffic is wonderful. I don't have traffic, but in the wintertime because all the snowbirds are back, then it's oh my god, why am I all of a sudden having traffic in October? But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yes, you would be technically a heat bird because you're following, you're warming up, if you will.
absolutely. And then the nature. I think the worst I've seen in the Midwest is a possum. Like I'm not used to um very I guess high wildlife. I'm not into wildlife like
Yes.
that. The nature.
No, well, I live, like I said, I live out about an hour outside the city. So we have bunnies. I see road runners. Um, we have dogs. I've thankfully not seen any venomous or poisonous creatures like snakes or scorpions, but scorpions are a possibility. Um, th- we spray for scorpions like you spray for ants or termites here. That's just how it is. Um, but one of the things that's very different in terms of the nature is I can literally look out my window of into my backyard and see the mountains. Um, mountains are all over Phoenix, and so it's a very different. Like literally, there's a mountain in the center of Phoenix, Camelback Mountain. Um, and so it's a very different type of nature. Here, the desert is like I said, it was different from being back home. Like I said, I grew up on the East Coast where the mountains were like the Allegheny Mountains, or the Appalachian Mountains, where it's like 2, 3 hours to drive to the mountains, because I live closer to the central tidewater area. But here it's like, dude, I drive 10 minutes to a mountain. I literally pass a mountain every day to go to the gas station. Um, and so yeah, is like I said, it's very different. It's a different type of beauty. And then so like we're not far from a lot of the canyons or going into like the canyons in Utah. Like yeah, that's like a full day's drive. It's like 12 hours. So yeah. Yep, go ahead, Evelyn.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
gonna go with
you
you, Miss
know,
Evelyn, and then we're gonna
okay,
move on.
y- okay. we don't appreciate our American landscape until you travel abroad. Now, I personally, I live on a volcano with mountains, and when you drive off my mountain, and you drive in any direction. If you get a high view, you got the view of a lake, and then more mountains beyond that. So you get them both in your vision. And on a cold day, and the lake is a natural warm lake, those clouds are sitting on top of the lake, so you feel like you're above the cloud. You just feel like you're in Wonderland. Now, you travel abroad, like I went to Ireland for the first time, and I'm like, what kind of world is this? You can't see nothing because over grown hedges and narrow roads, and you can barely get a bleep of distance. And I'm like, this is like being in a maze, because you can't see distance. And when you can't see that for a few days or weeks, you find it to be strange, or your body feels different because you're coming from a landscape where, when we say forest, everything's gigantic here in America. You go somewhere else and they say forest, that's a park to us. That's not no forest. That's a park. It's small. You can see through it. So it's just their conception of what you're describing. That's why foreigners love America. It's just like, as far as the landscape go, not what the current issues are we
Yeah.
have here. Yeah.
No, and I think that's
Well,
absolutely true because a lot of it is what we would describe in going from one state to another is literally for them going from one country to another, you know, and how it is here in the desert part of Arizona, which is not all of Arizona, because if I go north to Flagstaff, they have snow, they have large trees, they don't have as many mountains, but they have some. Um, it's a very different climate in Flagstaff. Flagstaff is 2 hours from where I live, but I live in the middle of the desert, you know. And so, but if I drive, I am what, 5 hours from LA, 5 hours from San Diego, and then I'm at the beach, you know, or or I can go 4 hours to Grand Canyon, like within 4 hours, I haven't even left my state technically if I go to the Grand Canyon in 4 hours, but I have such a different climate. I think that's some of the things that no, we don't take enough advantage of, going in just from state to state to see so many different things. Like it was very different when I went to Portland, in terms of like, because I've been Northeast, I've been to Maine, I've been to Florida, but Portland felt very, very different, you know. And so, yeah, I definitely agree that that's something that, and it is a big country and you don't need a passport. So, although I advocate for international travel whenever possible, but there's a lot to see.
it's definitely a lot to see and a lot to learn. And we've learned a lot from you tonight, Miss Fox. And just to touch on a little bit more of what Miss Fox was talking about before we go into the topics of the wind down, she spoke about what some people may view as challenges, as though she has not viewed being neurodivergent or autistic, or any of what some people may perceive as a challenge, just unique and just different. And aren't we all different? Aren't we all unique? Okay, so I'm going to explain what neurodivergent is. Being neurodivergent means having a brain that works differently from the average or neurotypical person. This may be differences in social preferences, ways of learning, ways of communicating, and or ways of perceiving the environment. And some people nowadays are saying the word woke. So hey, maybe more of us are neurodivergent than we thought. And so I think it's a spectrum on neurodivergence as it is for autism. And autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by persistent challenges in social communication, restricted interests, and repetitive behaviors. Okay, so it's important to know the why, as Ms. Fox was saying. Let's educate ourselves, bring awareness. That's what the wind down is also for, education, awareness. Okay, so thank you for bringing awareness and how to overcome so many challenges tonight, Ms. Fox. What a wonderful, wonderful Pleasure you've been for us tonight. Thank you. And did anyone have anything else to say to Ms. Fox before we move on to the wind down topics? Okay,
Yes, yes,
sure. Go
yes.
on.
I want to ask her: can ADHD be an onslaught to cultural induced strain?
What do you mean by onslaught? I just want to make sure I understand your question.
Meaning that, okay, like onslaught being something that occurs due to something else, due to a different occurrence. Like I've had 3 accidents on my job, and
Hmm.
now I suffer with arthritis, the onslaught of arthritis. I asked my doctor, and
Okay.
he said yes, that could be so. And then so at my
Oh, okay.
age, I just feel like I shouldn't be as stiff. I mean, it's not always.
Hmm.
If it's in warm weather, I'm okay, but like this cold weather, it's
In the
like
cool
I'm
weather.
stiff.
Nope,
Yes,
absolutely. I understand what you
yes,
mean now.
honey.
Um,
Yes, trying to stand up, trying to move, just getting stuck in
mm,
positions like this is all unknow. Is it the aging process or is it just, this and this? But
yeah.
so I'm talking about ADHD now,
Hmm.
being people think, oh, well, you're just born out of the womb with ADHD. But like they say that many women aren't even discovered that they have ADHD until years later. Well,
Okay.
you know, I'm thinking, wait a second. I have been able to concentrate, focus, and do hordes of things, even multitask.
Hmm.
Now I can't, I struggle to get through the day.
Hmm.
I'm like, what is this? This can't be from no accident. But I'm just thinking the multiple of no, nay, not, all the negatives responses versus what you can do versus no one
Hmm.
really telling you what you can do. And you just constantly breaking bricks trying to figure out what you can create. And it's just okay. So you find yourself in this loop of just being repetitive in all that you do. On the incidents, like I mentioned earlier, add that into the mix, and it just slows you down even more. So now your whole function, physically and mentally, is just slow mode. It's below your
Hmm.
normal. It's below your, and I'm like, do I have ADHD? What is this? And I
Okay.
can't snap out of it. You
I
know,
understand.
I had a
So,
loss of, yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. So, what I would definitely say is, I am not a licensed mental health professional. Please let me make that disclaimer. I can only speak from the things that, I've always been curious, because one of the things I first did when I found out that I had ADHD as well as autism was I poured over the research. There are lots of things that we have learned in terms of ADHD. ADHD is, generally speaking, um, it is something that you were really born with. It's not something that is acquired, which I think what you're talking about with the onslaught part. However, what we
Mm-hmm.
have learned is there are lots of things that mimic ADHD. And it doesn't mean that you don't have struggles with executive function. And that's one of the things that is characteristic of ADHD, is that executive dysfunction, that I struggle with focus, I struggle with attention, I struggle with these things. Um, but it doesn't mean that just because you struggle with those things, you have to have ADHD. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a lot of the things that are brought to the surface when people talk about ADHD. Oh, I'm impulsive. Well, you can be impulsive just because you like to do what you want to do when you want to do it. It doesn't mean that you have ADHD. Um,
Mm-hmm.
as we get older, we do struggle with multitasking. As we get older in general, we do struggle with executive function. That's just a general part of life. Um, with ADHD, it's characterized, generally speaking, by that hyperactivity part that can be physically hyperactive or mentally hyperactive. So for me, I am constantly thinking about new projects and new things that I can develop. My brain is always going. It's like having a Chrome browser with like 2,000 tabs open, and 50% of them are also playing a YouTube video. Like, it's just always something going on in my head. My brain is hyperactive, even if my body isn't. And one of the things that we're learning about ADHD and why so many women were not diagnosed is because a lot of the research, similar to autism, was done on white boys. Uh, ADHD as well as autism can present very differently in girls, particularly African American girls. So a lot of times what you may see in girls is you may see cattiness and girls who are very verbal. They like to talk, they just want to be social, they're little social butterflies, and stuff like that. Those are things that could be, not necessarily exclusively, similar signs of ADHD in girls. A lot of the times with girls, you see them zoning out. You'll see the inattentive part of ADHD, but it doesn't mean that they're not also hyperactive just because they're not literally bouncing off the walls. My son does have ADHD. One of the things we've realized is that for most kids, if you have at least one parent with ADHD, you're about 60% likely to have ADHD. If both of your parents have ADHD, you're like 90% likely to have ADHD. So we do understand that there is a genetic component, and we've understood that from twin studies. So, but it doesn't mean that it's exclusive to genetics, because what we understand about genes is all about certain experiences and how those things are expressed. So even if you had the genes for ADHD, if you don't have certain experiences, those genes may not get expressed. And it could be that those experiences didn't occur for you until later in life. That's quite possible as well. But one of the things that I think is most recently that we've realized in the research, especially in the research of trauma, is that a lot of the very similar things that we see that are characteristic for ADHD is very closely associated with complex trauma. The forgetfulness, the inattentiveness, the executive dysfunction piece, but you also can get the hyperfocus and hypervigilance depending on what the related trauma was. So you can get the always needing to be aware of your surroundings, and those types of things can, like I said, be associated with ADHD, but they can also be associated with complex PTSD. Um, there are lots, and that PTSD can come from any number of places. Like you said, you've been in multiple accidents. So your brain, may be like, oh, I need to be extra careful. I need to be extra this. I need to be extra that. And put yourself kind of in that fight or flight mode because of these accidents, and trying to be over prepared, and not realizing that over preparedness can also take away from you. Because again, if you're in your limbic system, kind of that what we call the frog state, you're always in tune with your surroundings, and okay, I need to be prepared. You're in survival mode. You need to come out of the limbic state in order to get into your higher brain, which is the executive function. You can't survive, you can't thrive if you're surviving.
Right.
And so if you're in that kind of state, in any kind of, if you're in that slightly stressful state, and we don't always know it, we don't always recognize it, because some of those things are just normal and common to us. And so for me personally, a lot of that for me with ADHD and autism was learning how to recognize that in my body. When I feel stress, when I feel anxiety, when I'm feeling some of those things amping up, a lot of that. So I had what's called alexithymia, where I struggle to connect my feelings to words. Why? Because I was so used to not being able to articulate what I felt. And so with that, I have to learn now as an adult, you know, a lot more of how to recognize these feelings in my body, recognize not only the feelings, but when things are changing in terms of what I feel in my body. So do I think ADHD can be acquired? No, I don't think it can be acquired. However, it doesn't mean that a lot of the things that we associate with ADHD can't come from other areas.
Does exhaustion come along with ADHD?
Yes, mental fatigue, yes. You can easily have
Okay.
mental fatigue. But mental fatigue for me comes from chronic migraines, not necessarily from ADHD.
Okay.
So I didn't realize after having, like, so for me, I have chronic migraines. I literally had a background headache 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 10 years. It was like having this low nagging pain all the time. Didn't think it was a big deal because it's not really that. I'm functioning, I'm okay, but it threw my ability to process when pain was intense and not. And it wasn't until I found a neurologist who actually paid attention to what I was saying, and she got me on better meds, that I was like, oh crap, this is what it feels like to not have pain in my head. Like for 10 years, I didn't know what that felt like. I didn't know what it
Mm.
felt like to not have pain, you know? And so, like, now when I have migraines, are they more intense? Absolutely. But I don't have migraines every day. I have migraines like maybe once every 4 or 5 months. It's rare, you know, but it's also one of those, like I said, it's a case of learning to recognize that in my body. So a lot of the
So
times, because I had that background headache all the time, I didn't recognize when pain was getting more intense in other areas. So it was a very long time before I realized that I had. So I also have. So similarly to you with your physical pain from your accidents, I have tendonitis, bursitis in both my right shoulder and my right hip. And so I didn't realize I was in pain and I was stiff so much because I had this background headache pain. And
Mm.
it wasn't until it got to the point where I could not lift my right arm that I was like, you know what? I might want to go to a doctor for this. Like, this is not okay. And then he was like, yeah, we need to do something about this. Like the amount of swelling in your joint. Yeah, no, that's not okay.
right.
You know,
What about
but
sleep exhaustion due to the fatigue of, like I said, body fatigue? You just like shut down where you stand,
yep,
basically.
yep. So you have that mental fatigue and you can have the body fatigue, and all of that can tie in together. Is it that that body fatigue can lead to mental fatigue, which will give you symptoms similar to ADHD.
Mm.
But it
Okay.
could be the other way around too. You could have mental fatigue that leads to body fatigue, because that mental fatigue, you're not sleeping well. And so when you're not sleeping well, that throws everything off.
Right.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
That was a mouthful. Like, dang.
Like I was saying earlier, I'm a person that's curious. And so I know a lot about a lot because me and Wikipedia are best friends. So I will easily rabbit hole on something that's interesting to me. And a lot of times that's rabbit holing first and foremost to understand myself, to understand what's going on with me. And then sometimes it's somebody could say like I learned about when I was doing something, and somebody said something about geothermal energy and calderas. And for the record, a caldera is a volcano that's dormant and it's like a giant crater. And so they were talking about geothermal energy and calderas, and I spent like 2 hours on Wikipedia reading about geothermal energy and calderas, like because I was curious. Like I know about thermonuclear dynamics. Um, I'm just a person that's always curious about the world around me, and things around me. So yeah, like I know a lot about a lot just because I am curious. The more you know. Do do do.
I absolutely love how inquisitive you are. Wow. So so much to unpack for tonight. I'll tell you that. But I'm happy that we're recording, and we all will definitely remember this wind down. So many wind downs to remember. Um, definitely appreciate you. And just to add, that I'm happy that you're feeling better with the migraines. And I'm not sure if you're with magnesium right now, but I definitely done research with the migraines, and from my studies, from what I've found, magnesium is beneficial for migraines.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, and thank you again. And also ADHD, which Miss Evelyn brought up. ADHD is one of the most common mental disorders affecting children. Symptoms of ADHD include inattention, such as not being able to focus or not being able to keep focus, hyperactivity, such as excessive movement that is not fitting to the setting, and impulsivity, such as hasty acts that occur in the moment without thought. All right, great information tonight. Great information. We are all different. We are all unique, but as long as we understand the why and bring awareness to things, we can understand one another. We can get along. We can prosper. Just as Miss Fox said, you cannot thrive if you're surviving. Woo! You cannot thrive if you're surviving. Okay. Thank you again. We appreciate all your time, Miss Fox, and thank you for your vulnerability and transparency with us tonight. We're going to get into tonight's topics. Okay, so the main topic for the wind down tonight is everything forgivable? Is it? Is everything forgivable? Who would like to talk about that? Who would like to start this topic off tonight? Um, can we hear from you, Shay? Before you go, I think you said you had to go. So, before you go, would you like to talk about? Oh, sure, no problem. Thank you, Miss Fox. Again, enjoy yourself. We appreciate your time. Thank you. Please be sure to post the link in the group to Girl Code, and we wish you all the success and connections and all healthy things and good things for Girl Code. Thank you. Does anyone want to talk about is everything forgivable? Kita, Miss Evelyn, Shad.
Okay, so everything, I think that's too broad of a word when you're talking about forgiveness. I think it kind of depends on the person. Um, Forgiveness, and I also think it depends on, what am I forgiving? Um, I have a relative who said something that I felt was very unforgivable. I haven't spoken to this person in years. Um, I just feel like it's something that shouldn't have been said at the time that it was said. So to me, that's very unforgivable. And the person that it wasn't said to me was said to somebody else, and they forgave. But for me personally, something. Yeah, it's unforgivable. It was just unforgivable in my eyes. So, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing the way that I'm going about it, but it's something that was said. It's just something hard for me to forgive. So I do absolutely positively not think everything is forgivable. I think it just depends on the person and how they feel in their heart. So like I said, the person that it was said to, they forgave, but me, and it wasn't even said to me, but I just feel like what was said was unforgivable. And I doubt it'll be hard for me to change my mind and change my view. So that's just me.
And thank you for the sharing with us, Kita. That's understandable. And how good of a person you have to be to care about others that way. It wasn't even said to you, but you still care, and your feelings are valid. Um, Shad, I see your hand is up. Thank you. Go on, Shad.
Okay, yeah. I was trying to figure out what you were saying, were you letting me go or not? Hey everyone. Let me hold my phone because I don't have my headsets tonight. But I do feel like there are things that are unforgivable. However, I feel like you should still forgive for yourself or your own sanity to be able to move on. There was a situation that happened to me that I did disclose on in a previous wind down to lady, where my younger cousin tried to kill me. She tried to unalive me, and this was in high school. And to this day, this is something that I still deal with as an adult because I'm still on that watch, having to watch my back kind of thing. And I've forgiven overall because I have to still live my life. I have a child to take care of. But the what happened, I'll never forget or get over what happened. So I still have to keep that in the back of my mind, even though um she's my first cousin. We grew up together, like slept in the same bed together, stayed at my grandmother's house together. So like all of that I had to kind of separate myself from because for a long time I was like, why would my own cousin do this? Like how could this be? Um and I had to get over that whole what it played for me in my mind. And I still go to therapy to this day because of that and how I handle my relationships now because of some of those issues with my cousin. So yeah, I do feel like there are things that are absolutely unforgivable. But I do feel like again, on a personal level, you do still have to forgive to a certain degree in order for you to operate. In order for you to operate. And that's it.
I'm definitely happy her tests were unsuccessful. And I'm happy you're also in therapy. And the Wine Down is definitely a safe space. Thank you for your vulnerability with us tonight. Um, you're right. We have, I think, you have to reach some type of forgiveness within yourself. And forgive the person you were at the time that went through that, and have compassion for that old person, or even if you are still that person. I've had to take myself outside of things sometimes. That's how I healed my the mommy issues that I had. I looked at the little girl that I was at the time, had compassion, and tried to. I guess what Miss Fox was saying, like she was saying, the why, right? The why. And Shad, is totally fine that you do not want to um, reconnect with this person at all. Same for you, Keita. Forgiveness does not require reconnection. Okay. And I remember last wind down, Miss Miriam was saying she had the forgiveness between her and God. Okay. And sometimes that's just how it have to be. Um, I see Miss Evelyn has her hand up. And again, thank you, Shad. I'm happy all is well with you. And I do hope therapy brings you some type of peace and resolution to um, the trauma that event caused. It is crazy how you can grow up in the same house, same moral, same education. Sure,
Yeah, I
sure.
have a black therapist. I go to her tomorrow. We meet up every Thursday.
Wow. Well, I'm happy that the wind down can be there to support you until you get your therapy on Thursdays. Okay. And again, I hope that all goes well with you, and wish you nothing but the best. And forgiveness is sometimes just for you. Remember that. Okay, someone had their hand up. I believe it was Miss Evelyn. Did anyone want to talk about is everything forgivable?
I agree with Shad and yourself that, you can forgive, but you're going to have to keep your distance. So, from my personal experience, I was told by my elders just to keep my distance. And I have been doing that for years. And now, recently, now that my age group is coming of age as becoming the elders, my my family peers, my siblings are trying to reclaim me. And it's like, I am 58 years old. I've gone on with my life. I am doing fine without the belittling and the nagging and all the other chaotic stuff that just wears a human being down. And it's like, there's nothing to share. They missed they missed the teens, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and now going on into our 60s, and because my older sister is 60, and they have their kids and their kids have kids now who I do not know, and it had nothing to do with my sexuality. It came from a place and base in my family time frame where the adults who were influencers at that time, not the elders of older than the influencers of that time that I'm speaking to, but these influencers were the type of people they have on these day shows where they have kids fighting each other just for their own personal entertainment. Now, it's just, sick stuff, patting kids against each other. And so you can see that sickness within my siblings. And so I have my mother trait where I'm soft and cuddling and, bubbly and want to learn and discover. And they're the opposite. Now they're coming of age wanting to do things that were considered as nerdy for me back then. But I was isolated, eliminated, or, this, not included. And so now I'm out here doing me, uh, but not never having them to turn to as, bloodline, family, help, siblings, to progress. I mean, to grow. So, saying, hey, we got a family cookbook, which I was not included to put my opinion in. Do you want a copy? You get what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, if you want to send me one. It's like, other than that, why are you calling? They have my phone number and address, but why reaching out? Whatever they're doing, whatever it is that they want to include me in on, I'm not being asked but to do more than join. It's like this, what I carried with me for, almost 45 years, which is, more than half my life. I let that stuff go once I came to this home that I just had an earthquake in tonight and learned to deal with that. I know I'm not in the world by myself. I'm building new family. I'm replacing them with, a better set of folks. But yeah, I have to forgive so I can move on, because mentally for all those years it was affecting me in everything that I was doing. Now I have the freedom to discover new territory within my environment. I know it took a long time for me to get there, but there.
No,
So yeah,
totally
forgive so
understand
you
it.
can move on. Yeah. But you can't forget, because then you're going to repeat it with someone else. So when someone else in the present comes at you, the first thing I say, oh, that's my little sister. Oh, there's my older sister. Not to say they don't get a chance, but when people come, some people come at you belittling you. You wearing that to the dinner tonight? Oh, uh, are you butcher? They ask you questions. It's like, you want to get to know me. These are not the questions to ask. In other words, I'm not going to ask you about what have you heard all your life if you're of age. What's your name? What's your sign? How many kids you have? Are you on welfare? Do you have a car? They actually like 3 or 4 or 5, 10. They're interrogating you instead of getting to know you. You just don't come at people. So what does it say about them? Is that they're uncouth. They don't have any culture. You don't ask people a string of questions and before they can answer the first one. It's just Mm, can't do it. It's like someone slurping at the table when you're eating. I cannot eat with that loud noise. I'm sorry. Can you pipe it down? But I'm not going to say that to someone. It's just I'm taking note of what I will and will not accept. I can't do it. There's about 10 people ahead of you already on that ticket. so, so, yes, I have to let go so I can move forward. And when I come across someone who carries a certain trait, then I know I can't go any further. It stops because it triggers something. Yeah. And I don't have to accept those kind of behaviors. And I won't accept those kind of behaviors. That doesn't mean anything wrong with me, but for me to forgive is to be aware of what I'm forgiving and letting it go so I can live.
I love it, Miss Evelyn. Thank you for that. Letting it go so you can live. But I don't like the dismissive tone of letting it go, depending on when people say it. Okay. But it is definitely suggested to not let, I don't like the tone of let it go.
Well, you don't have to fight. You got to pick your battles. That's what I'm saying. If you didn't bring that crap to the table, the other person brought it to the table. So letting it go is like if you done experienced the circus ride multiple times, how many times you got to ride that ride to get the joke? After a while, the joke isn't the same anymore. So you go find a new ride, or you go discover your environment, like I said. So letting it go is like, well, if you don't let it go, then you're giving rise to the individual who hasn't learned their lesson in human interaction. That's not your place to teach them. Just like we say, look, I'm not playing teacher today. I'm doing me today. I'm going to enjoy that breakfast and the sun on my back. Look for some humor or some comedy. That's where my focus is for today. I'm not hearing any more jive talking BS from anybody today. That's coping mechanism. Let it go.
I love it. Thank you, Miss Evelyn. Thank you for that. Let it go. You don't have to continue to repeat the same um, things to get the lesson. I think that's a form of insanity, repeating the same thing, expecting a different outcome. But I know we give grace to some people. I think there's a such thing. I think we spoke about this last wind out as toxic positivity or giving too much grace. There's definitely a such thing. Okay, thank you for that again, Miss Evelyn. Anyone else want to talk about the main topic? Is everything forgivable? Thelma, Miss Marion, Shay, anyone want to talk about is everything forgivable? And we can definitely move on to how to forgive because I think that's definitely important. How to forgive, right? How did you reach forgiveness, Miss Evelyn? How did you reach forgiveness, um, Shad? Anyone, Thelma? How do you reach forgiveness?
I guess I can answer. Um, I think for me and forgiveness is me trying to learn the other person more. Um, I don't think I'm an unforgiving person. I think once I know how a person reacts to certain things, says certain things, um, it's not necessarily people say things to hurt you a lot of times, but they may just say something at the heat of the moment. And for me, I do a lot of thinking about things, and it just takes me time to. I'm not gonna say necessarily forgive, but sometimes I may react without thinking, and I try to. If somebody says something to me, something particular that I might not like, I try to take time to process it because it's going to stay on my mind. That's just the type of person I am. Somebody say something, a certain thing to me, it's going to take me probably a day or two to process it and know what is my next step. What do I want to say? How do I feel about the situation? So I can definitely forgive people. And usually if I forgive somebody for something, I'm not one of them type of people who's going to bring it up and throw it in their face. If I forgive you for something, then for me it's done. That's it. I don't particularly like when somebody says they forgive you, and then sometime down the line something happens and they want to bring up something that was a year ago, 2 years ago. Either you forgive me for it or you don't. Don't try to hold it against me. Don't try to hold it over my head. Um, but yeah, I'm, I don't, I think I'm definitely a forgiving person. I think sometimes it may take me a day or two or three to come to that conclusion. But I'm definitely. I don't think I'm it's like it takes something real major for somebody to do something to me that to be something that would be unforgivable. So I think I'm a pretty forgiving person. I try not to hold people, especially once you're getting to know somebody. Once you really got to get to know the person, who they are, and what type of person they are. To to really get a sense of how they react to things. So I think once I know that about somebody, once I know what type of person they is, once I know how to approach them a certain way, you can't say certain things to certain people. It just forgiveness is easy. I don't think forgiveness is a hard thing. I just have to know what I'm forgiving and who I'm forgiving.
Thank you
I
for
feel you
that.
gotta let people. I feel you gotta let people know what it is that's a disturbance, and you have to be aware of yourself and what you're forgiving once you announce what it is, and the person repeats it. Now that's become toxicity, and if they know it can trigger, or if they're seeking triggerness, then that person you need to back up from, because they're deliberately going out of their way. See, what I just said about myself and my family, that I come from a high toxic, um traumatic environment where they pat the kids against each other, like they show on TV, literally fighting each other. And so you forgive, but the individual keeps replaying that loop, and you're aware of yourself. You did the homework, they haven't. And that there's just constantly pulling in that toxic environment, instead of finding a healthy balance. So there's only so much you can do, because you can't change people. You can
That's
only
true.
change yourself. So at some point you got to forgive, and you got to realize you cannot be around that individual. Maybe you give that individual, because they happen to be in the same place at the same time, like a family function, and you give them like 5 minutes, hello, bye, and whatever you can do to try to keep the peace, and then move out, because every second you stay in that environment, that person's going to pop off at some point, because it's like having the uncle who always says the same joke every year. No, this person's looking for something that they have on you, for some reason, that you're a magnet to each other. So you got to find a way to break the cycle. So forgiving is one thing, but you also got to find that distance from them, because they're carrying something that only socially people are going to loop you in to that potato salad, as if you're part of it, and you're not part of it. And so with my family, I made it clear I'm done with it. I'm 58. I'm looking at something else in my third rim. And I have made it where I have struggled to get to. So why should I let them come in and destroy all that I've gained? They have not shown me anything that I can trust. So it isn't that I hate them. I'm not saying I even actually love them. I don't know them. I know they're part of me. And yes, they call me, I respond, but I went to one gathering last summer, same behavior. So I need to take a note from my elders. Keep my distance for my own security.
I totally respect that. Sometimes you have to keep your distance for your own security. Boundaries are important. Ms. Fox touched on a lot of things tonight. It's okay to want a comfortable environment. It's okay to protect your home. And like she said, your home is not just your physical home. It's you. It's your environment. Okay. It's totally valid to want to be comfortable. And like you said, you have to speak that, Miss Evans. Sometimes you have to speak that. Hey, don't, like Miss Fox said, don't. Hey, don't touch my don't touch the temperature in my car. Don't change it. Thanks. We can work on a perfect medium somewhere. But please do not touch it. Okay? We have to learn what can trigger people. But like Miss Evans said, people keep triggering you. And after you've already vocalized, hey, this thing that you do right here, I don't like that. It bothers me. And it bothers me because blah, 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 blah. Please stop doing that. I do not like it when you do this particular thing. And they continue to do so. Have they taken the time to actually listen to you, to care about anything that you're saying? Okay, you got to get to the why. Can't get to the why without communication and understanding. And people have to have the desire to do that. Some people also know exactly what you're talking about, and they will deliberately go against what you're talking about and gaslight you, which is going towards the topic of the next topic of psychological abuse. And I think that definitely coincides with gaslighting. People be knowing your triggers and they'll do it anyway, just gaslighting you. Good night, Miss Shay. Thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate you. Have a great night. Sleep well. So, yes, it definitely ties into psychological abuse. Okay, did anyone want to touch on how to forgive, or is everything forgivable before we move on to have you endured or witnessed psychological abuse? Anyone? Yes, but people definitely gaslight a lot now. You okay? Hold on, wait. Don't don't make me question. Don't try to make me question my own reality. Okay, because you just did what you just did, and then when I reacted the way I did, you making it seem like what you said is not what you said, or you didn't mean it that way. Well, it's only one or two ways you could tell somebody f you. So I don't know what you mean. You didn't mean the way that I took it. No, I took it exactly the way that you said it, and why would you said it anyway? Which ties in what Keith said. No, you shouldn't have said that at this time. That was unacceptable. Stop being so impulsive. But is this person ADHD? Are they impulsive? Are they? I don't think impulsive. I don't think ADHD ties into rudeness. Um, Even though Miss Fox says she have a particular thing that she do, they may be out of moral standards. I reckon. So I guess we all have to get down to the why. I mean, maybe she also explains to people that, hey, I don't receive things. I don't understand how you feel right now. How can I help you? What do you need? So when you come to someone and you tell them, hey, this bothers me, are they saying to you, hey, I didn't know that that bothers you? Um, I, maybe, I, overspoke because I thought you were aware of this, but now I see this or that. What is the communication happening after you tell this person that they've triggered you or what they do bothers you? Is there any progress in the communication, any attempts or efforts? Okay. So, did anyone want to talk about? Have you endured or witnessed psychological abuse? If so, what happened?
So if I'm understanding psychological abuse correctly, and I may not, I don't want to get it confused with like emotional abuse. Um, I don't know if it's psychological abuse is kind of like when a person, don't trust their own thoughts, maybe, or I mean, I'm just trying to
Yes.
different the two. Okay. So, um, hmm, have you endured or witnessed psychological abuse? I'm sure I have witnessed it. I don't know too much if I have endured it, mm, more or less, because usually I'm the type of person where if I'm in a situation, regardless of relationship, friendship, or whatever, and it gets to a point to where, like, I feel like a friendship should not be something hard to have or to do. That goes with a relationship. And I know it's not easy. I'm not saying the relationship is easy. I know it's hard. I know you got to put in the work, but some things should just be easy. If two people want it to work, then it'll work. If two people want something to happen, then it'll happen. I'm to the point right now in my life where I got, when I call somebody a friend, I mean, like, all of my friends I've known for a very, 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 very long time, a very, very long time, and I love every single one of my friends. And none of them friendships have been hard. Yes, we have went through hard times for sure, but just us being friends, I don't want me being your friend, you being my friend, something that I have to work at. You know, I mean, that should just be something that I feel like should be comes natural. It's something that's just should be easy. Um, Psychological abuse, me, I'm the type of person, if I feel like something is not, sitting well with me or is not going the way I want it to, I will remove myself from the situation. After, second or third time, I'm like, bye. I it's gonna be hard for me for somebody to be able to abuse me and me just want to sit there and take it. That's gonna be very hard. And I'm not saying I'm superwoman or anything like that, but I'm one that's quick to I will be gone. I'll say my piece, and then I'm just gonna remove myself from the situation. I've pretty much always been like that. I'm not gonna let nobody treat me any kind of way. I don't let nobody talk to me any kind of way. I just can't do that. I just can't. I just cannot do that at all whatsoever. But I'm sure I probably have witnessed it in relationships that a lot of my friends may have. Definitely emotional abuse. I definitely have witnessed that a lot. Um, and I feel like me trying to tell somebody something, that person just have to they have to want better for themselves. I can't want better for you. I can talk to you about it. I can give you a shoulder to lean on, an ear to listen. But if you don't want it, then it's not anything I can do about it. Emotional abuse. I know one friend in particular is in her relationship. It was very bad emotional abuse. That's why I'm trying to differentiate the two between the psychological and the emotional. I just it was just bad to the point where she was going into depressed, and she was depressed, and just it's just a really bad situation. But like, I just feel like a person, like, you have to want it. I can't want it for you. You have to want it for yourself. And I think that goes with pretty much anything and everything in life. So I've definitely witnessed it for sure. I can't say too much. I endured it because, like, I'm yeah, after a certain amount of time, yeah, out the odds. Yeah, bye bye. So that's just my little 2 cents on it.
Well, thank you for that, Keita. I appreciate that. Some people definitely have their fortitude, self-respect, already innate, and I think that also can tie into how you were raised, Keita. You were probably protected from those type of traumas that those who don't have the ability to even recognize that they're being abused or to even know that they actually can say, "Hey, you're not going to talk to me like that. Hey, that right there, no, you're not going to treat me like that." Okay. So I'm happy you had the safe space. It seems you had a safe space to be able to use your voice, and also didn't have to worry about having to use your voice much because maybe your environment wasn't as toxic as those, again, who may not know that they're being psychologically abused to even want to set those type of boundaries. They probably didn't even know that they could, which is why we have to get down to the why, talk
Mm-hmm.
about this, and bring awareness. And we do that at the wind down. Thank you, Bonita. Welcome, Bonita. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're talking about um, psychological abuse here. Okay, and it definitely goes on a lot today. People gaslight you all the time. And to me, gaslighting is definitely a form of psychological abuse. And Kita, you were asking the difference between psychological and emotional abuse. And here we are. Psychological abuse leaves someone unable to trust their own thoughts. It's something that injures a person's capacity to feel peace inside of their own mind, just like I said, pretty much gaslighting, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas emotional abuse leaves a person not believing their own emotions are valid or have any importance to anyone, even themselves. Okay. Oh, why are you crying? Stop crying. You're a boy. Boys don't cry. I don't think that's healthy at all. Do not be afraid to cry. It does relieve the pain. Remember, a flower does not grow unless it gets some rain. We should all feel comfortable being able to cry. What are you crying for? I cry happy tears, and sometimes you can cry for release. Um, and yes, sometimes people do want to get you out of being sad, so they may say things that may appear inappropriate at the time. Toxic positivity is also a thing. Let people be able to grieve. I'm thinking a lot of us were able to grieve properly. Okay, let's give compassion, grace, and understanding to those who have experienced psychological abuse or abuse in any form. All right. Anyone else want to talk on the topic of have you endured or witnessed psychological abuse? I know I've definitely was gaslit a lot growing up. Even in my last relationship, definitely was gaslit a lot. Um, and I think psychological abuse could also be, oh, you're light skinned. I don't usually date light skinned women. Something like that. Okay, so wait a minute now. Why are you with me then? Hold on, because I'm definitely light skinned. Now, do you want me to be uncomfortable in my skin of light skin? Why would you say that to me? Because you definitely been dating me for a while, and now you're telling me I don't usually date light skinned women. I prefer dark skinned women. So does this woman attempt to date a light skinned person to make this light skinned person feel bad about being light skinned? Because they're brown skin or dark skin. So it can all happen in different ways. As Shad was saying, it's interchangeable. All right, and let's see what else Shad put into the chat. She said both psychological and emotional abuse are used interchangeably. However, emotional abuse does use verbal threats. All right. And Shad says good night to you all. She has a get her baby sleep. Okay. So anyone else want to touch on those topics there? And I will definitely be pulling up the schedule that we have for Kitty Land. Okay. But again, does anyone want to talk about any of the topics before we move on to showing this Kitty Land's new schedule? Is everything forgivable? How to forgive? Miss Thelma? Yes? Did you have something to say?
Well, I joined tonight because I was listening because I've always have a problem with forgiving because I have a hard time forgetting what you did, what a person has done. So I listened to you guys, and I think I got a lot of good information as far as it's okay to set boundaries, which is what I do. Because once you burn me and I know who you are, I kind of keep you at an arm's distance. And by listening to you guys talk, I guess I'm not the only one that does that or has that frame of mindset. So yeah, I think I got a lot out of listening to the conversations tonight. The whole psychological abuse, I'm not too sure because my mouth has always been spicy my whole life. And I can't turn it down. But yeah, I think I learned a lot from listening to you guys talking about, different situations that you've gone through. And so I have a hard time forgiving because I have a hard time forgetting. But I don't know. I guess it's something I'll keep working on.
Oh, thank you for that, Miss Thelma. I'm happy that you're here and that you're able to receive this message. We have to. Some people are not ready to receive, whether that's blessings, love, healing, awareness, even forgiveness. Okay, so I'm happy we are all here to receive and we're here to give. And um, you were saying that it's hard for you to forget. Well, I don't think that you have to forget to forgive, right? Let's say there's this special saying: if you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. So I think us not being able to forget certain things is not only a coping thing, but it's to protect us, right? When we get injured with our bones heal back, and it's heals back stronger, right? You may have been burned before on the stove, but I guarantee you won't let that stove burn you again twice unless you know, have some type of disability or sensory issue, okay, or condition. Okay, so we're all human here, and we're here to understand the why. Why do people do what they do, and why are we the way that we are, and why are people the way that they are? Okay, I don't think you have to forget. I don't think it's meant for us to forget a lot of things. And if you did forget, you may not be able to help other people, Miss Delma. So maybe pay it all. Maybe we all pay it forward of what we learned here tonight and what we always learn together and what we have to offer this community is valuable. This is all valuable information. We are all human, trying to teach other humans how to be human.
Mhm.
So be human. Okay. Did anyone else want to touch on the topics before I pull up the Kitty Land schedule? Appreciate you all for being here tonight. Let me get that schedule pulled up for you.